All right, let's cut straight through the nonsense. You want massive arms? Not just kind of fit arms, not maybe there's a bicep under their arm. I'm talking about sleeves that feel like they're in a relationship with your upper arm, tight, committed, and maybe a little uncomfortable in public. And here's the good news. You don't need 20 different curl variations or some mysterious secret movement only done in the basement of a Bulgarian weightlifting club. You need just 2 exercises. 2. That's it. But you have to do them right. And you have to do them hard. The first one hits your biceps in the most efficient way possible. It's the big compound that lets you load up serious weight and target the front of your arm with mechanical advantage. The second, it's your triceps' best friend. Because remember, 2/3 of your upper arm mass is triceps. Ignore them, and you're basically trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation made of toothpicks. Now, here's the kicker. Doing these 2 exercises isn't enough. You need to actually train them like you mean it. Full range of motion, proper progression, gradually adding weight or reps over time. Not the sloppy, ego-driven cheat reps that look like you're trying to launch the barbell into orbit, but controlled, tension-focused work that forces your muscles to adapt. You'll also need volume, enough hard sets to challenge the muscles, but not so much that you fry your elbows and start Googling, why do my joints hate me? And recovery matters. Eat enough protein, sleep like a human being who cares about their progress, and let your arms heal so they can come back bigger and stronger. So the blueprint is simple. Pick the 2 most effective exercises, master your form, progress them intelligently, recover well, and repeat for months, maybe years. And the beauty, if you stay consistent, people will stop asking, do you work out? And start saying, okay, seriously, what do you do for arms? All right, let's really drill into this idea that 2 exercises can be enough, because I know what's going through your head right now. Wait, only 2? But I saw a YouTube video with 17 different arm exercises and a guy yelling about secret angles. Yeah, I know. That's the fitness industry's bread and butter. Confuse you, overcomplicate things, and make you think the next shiny thing is the one that will finally unlock your ultimate gains. The truth? You can build massive arms with just 2 movements if you pick the right ones, and if you actually commit to mastering them. Not, I kind of do them here and there. Mastering. I mean, I've been hammering these for months. I can feel the muscle contracting in my sleep kind of mastering. Here's why it works. Muscles grow primarily through progressive overload. That's a fancy way of saying they adapt when you consistently make them work harder than they have before, whether that's with more weight, more reps, or more control over the same reps. If you've got an exercise that hits a muscle directly, allows you to add load in a safe, measurable way, and can be repeated consistently over time, you've basically found the golden ticket. Now imagine you find one of those for your biceps and one for your triceps. That's your whole game plan right there. But there's a mental trap people fall into, thinking more variety automatically means more growth. Nope. More variety often means more time spent learning a bunch of movements, never getting truly strong at any of them, and spending weeks figuring out technique tweaks instead of just pushing hard and getting results. You don't need 17 curl variations when one perfectly executed, progressively overloaded curl can do the job far better. You don't need to hit your triceps with a secret French press if you already have a compound press or extension pattern that loads them heavily and through a good range of motion. It's not about how many exercises you can list. It's about how much quality work you can accumulate on the best ones. Think of it like cooking. If you are making a dish that's already amazing with 2 ingredients, say high-quality steak and the right seasoning, do you really need to throw in 17 different spices, 3 marinades, and a random pineapple? No. You just need to pick the right ingredients, prepare them well, and let time and heat do their job. Training is the same. Choose the 2 right moves, give them everything you've got, and they'll deliver. The beauty of sticking with just 2 arm exercises is that it removes all the noise from your program. You're not in the gym thinking, should I do hammer curls, preacher curls, or spider curls today? You know exactly what's on the menu, so you can walk in and immediately focus on execution. That means more mental energy spent pushing your limits and less mental energy wasted on decision fatigue. And trust me, decision fatigue is a real gains killer. The more you hop around between movements, the less you progress any single one, and the more your results plateau. Now you might be wondering, but won't my muscles get used to these exercises if I only do 2? Here's the truth. Muscles don't really get bored. They don't have tiny brains in them thinking, ooh, this curl again. They adapt to the stimulus you give them. As long as you're increasing the challenge over time, more weight, more reps, slower negatives, more total sets, they'll keep adapting. It's you who might get bored, not your muscles. And if boredom is the only reason you switch exercises, that's a motivation problem, not a training problem. And yes, there's always room later to swap one of the moves out if you plateau hard and have milked every last gain from it. But you don't start with constant variety. You earn that variety after running something into the ground with relentless, focused work. That's how elite lifters train. They're not spending every week on a new fun exercise. They're beating their logbook, adding reps, adding load, perfecting their form on tried and true lifts. Two exercises also mean you can better track progress. It's a lot easier to know if your biceps are actually stronger when you've been logging the same curl variation for months instead of doing a new one every week and wondering why the weights feel awkward. It's easier on your joints too because you're not throwing new stress patterns at your elbows every session. Consistency with your movement selection means your tendons and ligaments can adapt along with your muscles, reducing the risk of injury. And injury prevention means more uninterrupted time training, which is the real secret to long-term progress. So when I say two exercises, I'm not giving you a shortcut to be lazy. I'm giving you the fastest lane possible to get big arms without the detours and traffic jams of gimmicky training. The trick is to pick them wisely, learn them deeply, progress them relentlessly, and stay consistent long enough to see the payoff. It's not glamorous, it's not Instagram flashy, but it works every single time if you have the patience and the discipline to stick with it. And here's the part that might blow your mind. Most people who complain they can't grow their arms aren't lacking some magic exercise. They're lacking enough quality work on the basics. They've never truly squeezed every ounce of progress from a single well-chosen bicep curl or tricep extension. They've never tracked, pushed, and refined their technique until the set itself becomes an art form. That's where the gains are hiding, not in the exercise variety buffet, but in the quiet, methodical, repeatable assault on the same two lifts over and over again until your arms have no choice but to grow. If you commit to that, and you marry those two movements with proper recovery, nutrition, and progressive overload, you'll be shocked at how fast your arms change. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing the right things enough to matter. And once you see that happen, you'll realize that the whole more is better thing was just noise holding you back from what was possible all along. Let's talk about proper form and progression, because this is where most people either make the fastest progress of their lives or stay stuck in I lift, but I don't look like I lift territory forever. You can pick the right exercises, but if your form is sloppy and you're not actually progressing them, you're basically taking the scenic route through Gainesville with the emergency brake on. And that's not just inefficient, it's frustrating, demotivating, and honestly kind of embarrassing when you realize you've been doing the same thing for months with nothing to show for it. Form is not some optional nice-to-have that only nerdy lifters care about. It's the foundation of every single rep you do. Proper form means you're actually putting the stress on the muscle you're trying to grow, not on your joints, tendons, or random stabilizers that had nothing to do with the lift. When you curl, that means your biceps are working, not your lower back, not your shoulders, not your knees. Yes, I've seen people knee their way through curls like they're trying to summon a rugby tackle. When you press for triceps, it means the triceps are driving the load, not you bouncing the bar off your chest and hoping gravity takes care of the rest. Here's the problem. People confuse lifting heavy with lifting well. Heavy is great, but only if it's heavy for the muscle you're targeting. If you're loading up so much weight that you have to swing it, jerk it, or cut your range of motion in half, you've stopped training the muscle and started training your ego. That's like putting a Ferrari engine in a shopping cart. It's a lot of noise and potential, but it's not going anywhere useful. And let's clear something up. Proper form does not mean going painfully slow and never challenging yourself. It means moving the weight under control, enough control that the muscle is working through the entire range of motion without momentum doing the work for you. It's about being honest with yourself on every rep. If the rep feels easier because you shortened it, that's not progress. That's cheating yourself out of stimulus. The muscle doesn't grow from what you almost did. It grows from the tension you actually applied. Now, once you have good form locked in, the second half of this equation kicks in progression. And progression is non-negotiable. You cannot expect to look different if your muscles are not facing a gradually increasing challenge over time. Progressive overload is not some mystical concept. It's the basic biology of muscle growth. The body adapts to stress. If the stress doesn't increase, neither will the adaptation. It's like learning a language. You don't improve if you just keep repeating the same 5 phrases forever. You get better by tackling harder words, faster conversations, and more complex sentences. Progression comes in a few main forms: adding weight, adding reps, adding sets, or improving your execution with the same weight. Adding weight is the most obvious. If you curled 30 pounds for 10 reps last month, try for 35 pounds for the same reps next month. Adding reps is just as powerful. Maybe you stay with 30 pounds but go from 10 reps to 12, or maybe you keep the same weight and reps but slow your eccentric phase, making the muscle work harder for each second of the set. That's progression too. Here's where people screw it up. They try to progress too fast or in too big of jumps. They go from curling 25s for 12 to trying 40s the next week because they felt good. What happens? Form collapses, range of motion disappears. And suddenly they're half curling and half convulsing in a way that's a liability in any public space. Progression is about small, sustainable increases that your form can handle. It's a long game, not a one-rep hero stunt. Tracking your progress is essential here. You cannot rely on feeling stronger as your measure of improvement. Write it down, log your sets, reps, and weights every time you train. That way, when you look back over the last 8 weeks, you can see exactly how you've increased the load or volume. If you see that nothing has changed for a month, you know it's time to adjust your approach. And here's another truth bomb. Progression isn't always linear in the short term. You will have days where the weights feel heavy for no good reason. You might have weeks where the numbers stall. That's normal. The key is to zoom out and see if you're trending upward over months, not obsessing over every single session. If you're eating enough, recovering well, and pushing hard most of the time, the graph will go up even if it zigzags along the way. Finally, let's address the connection between form and progression. They're not separate boxes to check. They're married. Progressing without form is a recipe for injury and wasted effort. Perfect form without progression is just maintenance. You need both. Form to make sure the target muscle is getting the stimulus, progression to make sure that stimulus keeps increasing. The combination is where the magic happens. So here's the reality. You can't cheat your way to bigger arms with bad form, and you can't just coast your way there without progression. If you lock in the technique, track your progress, and push the numbers upward over time while keeping every rep honest, you will grow. It's not glamorous, it's not revolutionary, but it's the only thing that works 100% of the time for 100% of all who actually stick to it. Everything else is noise. Most people chasing bigger arms make one critical mistake. They overfocus on biceps and treat triceps like an afterthought, as if they're some optional bonus muscle you train when you have time left. That's a rookie mindset. Here's the reality. Your triceps make up roughly 2/3 of your upper arm mass. Let that sink in for a second. If you're neglecting them, you're not just leaving gains on the table, you're leaving most of the table empty. You're building a house and only working on the front porch while ignoring the rest of the structure. When you think of big arms, what you're really visualizing is a thick, full arm from every angle. From the side view, it's the triceps that create that hanging horseshoe look. From the front, yes, the biceps pop, but the overall girth of the arm still comes heavily from triceps. So if your training is biceps heavy and triceps light, you're basically working toward a half-finished product. And a half-finished product isn't impressive. No one looks at a construction site with one painted wall and says, wow, that's amazing. The truth is, training arms effectively is about balance. You need to hit both biceps and triceps with enough volume, intensity, and frequency to grow. If you only train one side hard, you're going to end up with imbalances that not only look awkward, but can also lead to shoulder and elbow issues over time. Balanced training keeps the joints happy, the physique proportional, and the progress steady. Now, balance doesn't mean splitting time evenly down the middle in every single session. It means distributing your overall training volume appropriately across the week or training cycle. If your triceps are lagging, you might give them a bit more attention for a while until they catch up. If your biceps are behind, you focus there. But the key is that both muscles get their fair share of work over the long run. Let's talk about the actual work. For biceps, the movement pattern is simple: elbow flexion. For triceps, it's elbow extension. Easy to understand, but easy to mess up in execution. For biceps, that means curls done in different angles if you want variety later, but always with control and full range of motion. For triceps, that means pressing and extension work, again with good technique and range. Both muscles respond well to moderate to high volume, so you can't just hit them with a couple of lazy sets and expect much to happen. There's another piece to this puzzle. Strength carryover from compound lifts. Heavy pressing work like close grip bench or dips will hammer the triceps. Heavy pulling and rows will still involve the biceps. That's great, but isolation work is what takes them from decent to holy crap, how do your arms even fit in that shirt? Compound lifts are the foundation. Isolation lifts are the detailing that turns a good physique into a great one. Balanced focus also keeps your physique aesthetically pleasing. Ever seen someone with decent biceps but flat triceps? From the front, they look okay until they turn sideways and suddenly the arm is just gone. The reverse is also true. Huge triceps with underdeveloped biceps make the arm look strange and incomplete from the front. Balance is what makes the arm look big and impressive from every angle, in any lighting, flexed or relaxed. And let's not forget the functional side of things. Strong, well-developed triceps help you press more in all upper body lifts. Strong biceps support pulling strength and elbow stability. Neglect one, and you're limiting your performance in the other. You might think your bench press is stuck because of your chest, when in reality your triceps are the weak link, or your pull-ups might be stalling because your biceps can't keep up. Balanced arm training doesn't just make you look better, it makes you stronger across the board. This is where the only two exercises concept really shines. One for biceps, one for triceps. Both get specific, dedicated attention in the same workout or spread across the week. You're not leaving it to chance or hoping your compounds take care of the smaller muscles. You're directly targeting them with enough load and volume to force adaptation. That's the difference between someone who trains arms accidentally and someone who builds them on purpose. And here's the mental shift that seals the deal. Start thinking of triceps work as arm work, not as some accessory for chest day. If you want massive arms, you don't tack on triceps at the end of a workout when you're tired and half-assing it. You train them with the same focus, intent, and energy you give to biceps. The pump, the burn, the progressive overload, it all matters just as much. Over time, this balanced approach builds arms that don't just look good from one pose, but from every possible angle. Sleeves will feel tight even when your arms are relaxed. The outline of your triceps will push against the fabric. Your biceps will bulge when you pick up anything, and you'll have that solid, rounded shape that screams, this person actually trains. That's not an accident. It's the result of consistently respecting both sides of the arm game. So if your goal is truly massive arms, stop thinking in terms of biceps and some triceps. Start thinking biceps and triceps equally always. The payoff isn't just bigger arms, it's better performance, healthier joints, and a physique that's balanced and powerful from every perspective. You'll never have to hide from side profile photos again, and you'll never hear someone say nice biceps, but balance is the reason there's no but. Recovery is the part of arm growth that almost everyone underestimates. People think the magic happens in the gym when you're curling, pressing, grinding through sets, but that's only half the story. The actual growth happens after the workout when your muscles repair and rebuild. Training is the stimulus, recovery is the construction crew. Without recovery, you're basically calling in a demolition team to knock the building down, and then forgetting to hire anyone to rebuild it. You can only tear down so much before you're just left with rubble. Here's the blunt truth. Your muscles don't grow while you train. In the gym, you're creating micro tears in the muscle fibers and stressing your nervous system. The gym is where you set the stage for adaptation. But the rebuilding, the process of those fibers coming back thicker, stronger, and more capable requires time, nutrients, and rest. Without those, you're just breaking yourself down over and over again without ever cashing in on the work you've done. The first piece of recovery is nutrition. I'm not talking about vague eat healthy advice. I mean specifically giving your body the raw materials it needs to grow. Protein is at the top of that list. Aim for enough to hit your daily needs. Spread out over multiple meals so your body has a steady supply of amino acids to repair muscle tissue. Carbs are next, not just for energy during your workouts, but to replenish glycogen so your muscles are primed for the next session. And yes, fats matter too for hormones, joint health, and overall function. If you're under-eating in any of these areas, you're limiting your recovery and therefore your growth. Then there's sleep, the most underrated recovery tool in existence. You can nail your training and nutrition, but if you're only sleeping 5 hours a night, you're cutting your results in half. Sleep is when growth hormone peaks, when muscle repair is at its most active, and when your nervous system gets the chance to reset. Poor sleep isn't just bad for gains. It wrecks your energy, focus, and motivation. And if you think you can make up for it with caffeine, good luck. Caffeine can mask fatigue, but it doesn't undo the physiological damage of bad sleep. Rest days are another key factor. I'm not saying you should take a week off every time you feel a little sore, but you can't just blast your arms every single day and expect them to grow. Muscles need time between intense sessions to repair. For most people, hitting arms hard 2-3 times per week with at least a day or two of rest between is plenty. If you're still sore or your performance is dropping, that's a sign you need more recovery, not more punishment. Managing overall fatigue matters too. Your arms don't recover in isolation. They're part of your whole system. If your chest, shoulders, and back training are all heavy and intense, your arms are getting hit more than you think, and that adds to the recovery demand. You have to account for all the indirect work your arms are doing when planning your direct arm sessions. Otherwise, you risk tipping over into overtraining territory where progress stalls, strength drops, and injuries creep in. Hydration is another piece most people overlook. Dehydrated muscles don't perform well, don't pump as hard, and don't recover efficiently. Staying hydrated keeps nutrient transport, joint lubrication, and overall function running smoothly. It's simple, but it's one of those small hinges that swings a big door when it comes to performance and recovery. And let's talk about active recovery. This doesn't mean go do a hard workout on your rest day because you feel restless. It means light activity, walking, mobility work, easy cardio that promotes blood flow and nutrient delivery to your muscles without adding more stress. Think of it as giving your muscles a gentle massage from the inside out. You're not trying to fatigue them, you're trying to keep them fresh. Now here's the big mental hurdle. People think recovery is doing nothing and therefore somehow lazy. That mindset is exactly why their progress stalls. Recovery is not laziness, it's part of the program. In fact, it's just as intentional and important as your training. Skipping recovery is like skipping leg day. Sooner or later, it shows. If you build recovery into your plan and treat it like a priority instead of an afterthought, your gains will explode. The best way to think about it is this. Training is like planting seeds. Recovery is like watering them, giving them sunlight, and making sure they have the right soil. If you plant a bunch of seeds but never water them, nothing grows. In the gym, you're planting the seeds for bigger arms. Outside the gym, you're feeding them with sleep, nutrition, rest, and time. You need both sides of the equation to get the full result. The most advanced lifters in the world understand this better than anyone. They train hard, brutally hard, but they also recover like professionals. They eat to support their workload. They sleep enough to let their body repair. They manage fatigue so they can keep training at a high level for years. That's why they keep making progress long after most people have plateaued. So if you're serious about building massive arms, don't just think about the curls and extensions. Think about what you're doing in the 23 hours outside of the gym that either supports or sabotages your growth. You can't outtrain bad recovery. But if you get recovery right, if you feed your muscles, rest them, and let them rebuild, you'll come back to the gym stronger, fuller, and ready to push harder. That's how you turn good training into great results.